The most dangerous moment in modern history isn't when a dictator screams threats of nuclear fire. It is the moment silence falls. 3 a.m. Pyongyang time. Intelligence signals across the DMZ suddenly flatline. The fervent patriotic music on state radio stops, replaced by an eerie, static hiss. Deep inside the Ryongsong residence, the supreme leader has collapsed. No heartbeat, no successor. The chain of command shatters instantly. Within minutes, the world's worst nightmare becomes reality. The Hermit Kingdom is imploding, and its arsenal of 60 nuclear warheads is up for grabs. Satellites detect heat signatures of armored columns moving from the Chinese border toward the Yongbyon nuclear facility. Simultaneously, under the cover of a pitch-black moonless night, MH-47G Chinooks carrying the elite, Tier 1 operators of JSOC, Joint Special Operations Command, cross the 38th parallel at treetop level. The mission is simple but suicidal. Secure the loose nukes before Beijing seizes them or before a rogue general decides to launch them in a final act of spite. The race has begun, and the finish line is a radioactive crater. The collapse of the Kim regime doesn't look like the fall of the Berlin Wall. It looks like the beginning of a zombie apocalypse. Inside Pyongyang, the power grid fails completely, plunging the capital into a medieval darkness. The streets are ruled by panic. Food riots erupt in Hamhung and Chongjin, overwhelming the local security forces. But the real terror is underground. Intelligence satellites pick up anomalous thermal blooms from the missile silos, hiding deep in the jagged mountains of Chegang province. The blast doors are opening. This isn't an automated dead-hand protocol. Someone is manually overriding the launch sequences. Who controls the keys? A loyalist general preparing a final suicidal salute? Or a rogue warlord looking to sell a warhead to the highest bidder in the Middle East? In the Situation Room at the White House, the DEFCON 2 lights flash amber, the highest level of readiness since the Cuban Missile Crisis. The decision is made. South Korean forces, ROK, are ordered to hold the line at the DMZ to prevent a mass suicide charge by the KPA Artillery Corps. The dirty work, the extraction of the nuclear cores, falls to the shadows. U.S. Delta Force and DEVGRU are greenlit for Operation Broken Arrow, but they aren't the only ones coming to the party. Across the Yalu River, the ground trembles. The massive tracks of the People's Liberation Army's Type 99A tanks tear up the frozen earth. Beijing has activated Plan Northern Lifeline. They aren't coming to liberate. They are coming to annex the buffer zone before the Americans can set foot in it. The collision course is set. The Black Infiltration. The operation begins in total silence. High above the Sea of Japan, an EA-18G Growler activates its ALQ-99 jamming pods, blasting a cone of electronic noise that blinds the aging SA-5 Gammon radar sites along the North Korean coast. Under this invisible umbrella, 4 MH-47G Chinooks from the 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment drop to 50 feet above the jagged terrain. They are flying nap of the earth, hugging the contours of the valleys in pitch blackness. Inside, the Delta Force operators are essentially blind, relying entirely on their panoramic night vision goggles, GPNVG-18. The green phosphor glow reveals a desolate landscape of starving villages and frozen rice paddies. They are not alone. As they approach the Yongbyon Nuclear Scientific Research Center, the pilot's sensors scream. A localized air defense network, independent of the national grid, has activated. Anti-aircraft tracers, looking like angry red fireflies, stitch the night sky. The Chinooks bank hard, releasing flares. One round punches through the fuselage of Chalk 2, severing a hydraulic line. Fluid sprays onto the operators, but the bird keeps flying. There is no turning back. The landing zone, LZ, is a soccer field 2 kilometers south of the reactor. The ramp drops. The cold air hits them like a hammer. The boots of America's most lethal warriors hit the frozen mud. The Northern Avalanche. While the Americans infiltrate by stealth, the Chinese invade with brute force. At the Sino-Korean Friendship Bridge, the gates are smashed open by combat engineering vehicles. The People's Liberation Army, PLA, Northern Theater Command, does not bother with stealth. They are executing a lightning thrust. A battalion of Type 99 main battle tanks roars across the Yalu River, their 125mm smoothbore cannons leveled. When a remnant unit of the North Korean border guard attempts to block the road with a truck, they are vaporized instantly by a high-explosive anti-tank heat round. The PLA is moving under a dome of iron. Mobile HQ, 17 air defense systems track every movement in the sky. Their objective is not just Yongbyon, it is the ballistic missile bases in the Musudan relaunch complex. Beijing's orders are absolute: secure the assets. Do not let the Americans take samples. The Chinese column stretches for miles, a river of steel flowing south, crushing everything in its path. The kill house. Back at Yongbyon, Delta Force breaches the perimeter fence. The facility is not abandoned. The elite Supreme Guard Command, fanatic loyalists to the dead leader, have barricaded themselves inside the reactor building. The firefight is immediate and ferocious. The silence of the night is shredded by the crack of suppressed HK-416 rifles and the deafening roar of North Korean AK-74 seconds. It is close quarters battle CQB at its most nightmare-inducing level. Operators move room to room, clearing corners with flashbangs and controlled bursts. In the hallways, the air is thick with concrete dust and the copper smell of blood. They reach the main control room. It's empty. The centrifuges are spinning, but the fuel rods, the weapons-grade plutonium are gone. Jackpot is missing, the team leader radios. I repeat, the cores are mobile. Satellite intelligence updates instantly. A convoy of 3 unmarked armored trucks was seen leaving the facility 10 minutes prior, heading north toward the Chinese border. The race has just shifted gears. The collision course. The American team mounts up in their ground mobility vehicles, GMVs, that were airdropped nearby, chasing the nuclear convoy on icy mountain roads. But they are running straight into the jaws of the advancing Chinese army. Overhead, the air war begins. A flight of U.S. Air Force F-15E Strike Eagles, providing top cover for the Delta team, is painted by the radar of Chinese J-16 fighters patrolling the border. The radio waves are filled with warnings in Mandarin and English. Unknown aircraft. You are entering a restricted military zone. Turn back immediately or you will be fired upon. This is United States Air Force. We are conducting a counter-proliferation operation. Do not interfere. Neither side blinks. The J-16 seconds conduct an aggressive intercept, cutting across the nose of the lead F-15E, dumping fuel and igniting afterburners, a thumping maneuver designed to disrupt the American jet's airflow. The U.S. pilot responds by locking his radar. The tone is a steady, high-pitched whine. The sky is a powder keg. The red line. The Delta team catches up to the North Korean convoy in a narrow mountain pass. They disable the lead truck with a Javelin missile, trapping the nuclear cargo. But as they move to secure the warheads, the ground trembles. Rounding the bend, less than 500 meters away, is the vanguard of the Chinese armored column. A Z-20 utility helicopter swoops down, depositing a squad of Jiaolong Dragon Chinese Special Forces. For the first time in history, American Delta Force and Chinese Special Forces are standing on the same road, weapons raised, separated by a burning North Korean truck containing enough plutonium to destroy a city. There are no proxies here. No advisors, just the trigger pullers of the world's 2 largest superpowers. A Chinese officer yells through a megaphone. This is Chinese territory by security mandate. Drop your weapons and withdraw. The American team leader replies with a single shot to the engine block of the nearest vehicle. The standoff breaks. Tracers erupt from both sides. The valley lights up like day. The proxy war is dead. The great power war has begun. The sky tears open. The valley, previously swallowed by darkness, is now illuminated by a strobe light effect of muzzle flashes and explosions. The skirmish between Delta Force and the Chinese Jiaolong commandos escalates instantly into a full-spectrum war. High above, the rules of engagement evaporate. The Chinese HQ-17 air defense system, protecting the armored column, locks onto the circling US F-15E Strike Eagles. A radar-guided missile screams off the rail. Launch! Launch! Break right. The lead F-15E dumps, flares and dives into the radar shadow of the mountains, but the missile is relentless. It detonates 10 meters off the starboard wing. Shrapnel shreds the engine intake. The American jet becomes a comet of burning titanium, spiraling into the frozen peaks. The crash echoes like thunder. This is the trigger. The remaining Strike Eagles request weapons free. The authorization comes back from Indopacom in seconds. Cleared hot. The F-15ES roll in, dropping GBU-31 JDAMs. These are not precision strikes, they are hammer blows. 2,000-pound bombs slam into the leading Chinese Type 99A tanks. The valley floor erupts, Turrets weighing 20 tons are tossed into the air like toys. The shockwaves flatten the pine trees on the slopes, momentarily silencing the small arms fire below. The grinder. On the ground, the situation for the Delta team is desperate. They are outnumbered 20-1. The Chinese infantry, dismounting from their IFVs, are advancing in a disciplined pincer movement, using the burning wreckage of their own tanks as cover. The firefight around the nuclear truck is primal. An American operator, pinned down behind a rock, feeds a fresh belt into his Mark 48 machine gun. Danger close. I need fire on the tree line, northeast, 100 meters. He isn't calling for air support. He's calling for the spooky. An AC-130J Ghost Rider gunship has arrived on station, orbiting high above the chaos. Its 105mm howitzer and 30mm cannons unleash a rain of death. The tracer fire from the sky looks like a solid red laser beam connecting the heavens to the earth. The Chinese infantry formation evaporates in a mist of pink and gray. But the Chinese adapt. They pop red smoke, marking the American position for their own artillery. Within seconds, 122mm rockets begin to bracket the Delta team. The ground churns. Men are screaming. The snow is turning black with soot and blood. The third player. Just as the battle reaches its peak, the chaos is compounded. A regiment of North Korean T-62 tanks, manned by suicidal loyalists refusing to surrender to either side, bursts from a hidden tunnel network on the valley flank. They don't distinguish between American or Chinese. They open fire on everything. It is absolute bedlam. A three-way tank battle erupts in a space less than a kilometer wide. A Chinese Type 99A pivots its turret, blowing a North Korean T-62 apart, only to be hit in the rear by an American Javelin missile. The burning nuclear truck the prize everyone is dying for is caught in the crossfire. Bullets ping off its armored casing. A stray round pierces the radiation shielding. Geiger counters on the Delta operator's wrists start screaming. The radiation levels are spiking. The core is compromised. The impossible extraction package is compromising. We have leakage. Repeat, we have a dirty event. The American team leader makes the call that no one wants to hear. They cannot secure the truck. They cannot let China take it. They have to bury it. All stations, this is Highlander. Broken Arrow. I repeat, Broken Arrow. Coordinates on my position. Bury us. He is calling an airstrike on his own location to seal the valley, but the pilots above refuse. Instead, a pair of A-10 Warthogs, the old war horses of the USAF, drop below the cloud deck. They ignore the Chinese anti-aircraft fire ripping through their wings. The legendary BRRRT of the GAU-8 Avenger cannons tears a trench in the earth, creating a wall of fire between the Delta team and the advancing Chinese. Behind this curtain of destruction, an MC-130J Commando 2 transport plane performs the craziest maneuver in aviation history. It lands on the icy, cratered highway, its propellers chopping through the smoke. The ramp drops while the plane is still rolling. The surviving Delta operators, dragging their wounded and carrying portable radiation sensors, sprint for the plane. They don't have the truck, but they have the verification. The nukes are effectively destroyed, buried under tons of rock from the collapsing mountainside, triggered by the 8 seconds run. The escape. The MC-130 revs its engines to maximum power. Rockets from Chinese positions zip past the fuselage. One clips the tail, blowing off a stabilizer. The pilot wrestles the yoke, forcing the heavy beast into the air, just as a wave of Chinese infantry overruns the runway. As they climb out of the Valley of Death, the operators look back. The 8 seconds make one final pass, dropping a string of CBU-105 cluster bombs on the nuclear convoy. The valley disappears in a blinding flash. It's not a nuclear explosion, but it is the tomb of the Kim regime's legacy. The prize is gone. The war, however, has only just tasted blood. The dust settles over the Shigang Mountains, burying the secrets of the Kim dynasty under 1 million tons of radioactive rock. The immediate threat of loose nukes is neutralized, but the geopolitical fallout is far more toxic than the radiation. The North Korean buffer zone is dead. For the first time since 1953, there is no DMZ. American and Chinese forces are now staring at each other across a fluid, undefined front line in the ruins of a failed state. Washington claims a tactical victory, having prevented nuclear proliferation. Beijing claims a strategic victory, having occupied 2/3 of North Korean territory. But in reality, there are no winners. The Korean peninsula has transformed from a hermit kingdom into the world's most dangerous flashpoint. The proxy war is over. The era of direct confrontation has arrived. As the camera pans over the smoking crater where the convoy once stood, a chilling realization sets in. The race for the nukes was just the opening move. The real war, the war for the control of Asia, has just begun. And next time, the superpowers won't be fighting over a truck. They will be fighting for survival.